Hi everyone, I'm Margarita Muradova, a personal stylist and fashion consultant from Kiev, Ukraine originally, but currently residing in Portugal, Lisbon. And today we're going to talk about something that I'm really passionate about, and you'll see in a second why. We're going to talk about trends that I'm absolutely sick of. I'm totally feeling that they need to go at the moment because they're everywhere and there's no substance with them. So basically you just see this thing multiplied across all the platforms. Everybody's wearing it, everyone's producing it, all the brands across all the fashion segments are doing the same thing all over again, and they've been doing it for at least half a year now. So it's time to just stop. So today I'll list the items I'm pretty much totally over as of now, and I'm ready for them to go out of style as soon actually as possible, if it's even possible. And just let me know in the comments below if you feel the same, or maybe there's some specific items that trigger you in the same way these things trigger me. Also, subscribe to the channel if you're new here and you like this content, or you've watched another video of mine, you've liked the content, and make sure to follow me across all the social media platforms. Also my Instagram, my TikTok, I've created one, etc. etc. I link everything down below. In the last but not least, there's going to be a lot of links regarding Ukraine and what's happening in Ukraine at the moment, and links to funds to support and donate to help Ukraine. So just make sure you go and look at them as well. So let me start by saying that trends is absolutely something that's happening in the fashion world. You observe that trends are not necessarily something you need to follow to a T. Trends are like waves, they come and go. And some of the waves, as a surfer, you catch, and some of the waves you ride, and some of them you pass. It's the same basically principle with trends, but for me, some of the waves, trends, just don't seem to go away, no matter how much there is saturation of this specific trend within the fashion industry. And the first trend I'm absolutely sick of is applique flowers, like roses and other flowers. Each and every fashion segment is doing this applique flowers. So just the first thing that happened was the Magda Butrym brand started doing these applique Carrie Bradshaw pin style flowers across all of their things, like dresses and tops and bodysuits, etc. And it was amazing. It looked beautiful. It revived this 90s to 2000s vibe, and it was really unique and beautiful. And also it was styled perfectly within the Magda Butrym brand. But then all the brands possible in this world picked up this trend. Obviously, so did Zara, H&M, and all the other mass market brands. And they did this across all of their things. So basically now in Zara, you can see corset tops, just regular tops, t-shirts, dresses, bodysuits, swimsuits, and each and every item on their website with these applique flowers. And not only mass market brands, which I totally do expect of them to copy and paste something they've seen in the luxury segment, but also other luxury brands, which is usually, this is not the first time this has been happening. So this is really surprising to me that some luxury brands, there's a lot of them actually, do copy and paste something they see in other luxury brands and make it their own, and not necessarily in a beautiful, unique way, but just basically bring this specific feature or item into their collection and just, pass it as if it was there the whole time, which is kind of crazy. And it's been happening in the fashion world for a lot of time, and I'll bring some examples later on in the video. But for example, let me just give you an example within the sweets department, which I consider myself to be a professional in. If you like something sweet, you like chocolate ice cream, you can eat like a pint of chocolate ice cream, you can eat it every day, morning and night, but at some point if each and every ice cream place you go to has only chocolate ice cream and kind of a play on the same flavor you like, you start wishing it was different. You start wishing and willing to get something new and trying something different. And as much as I like chocolate ice cream, I don't think that each and every ice cream place has to have only chocolate ice cream, if you know what I mean. And also, if one place creates a specific unique recipe for ice cream, then each and every place in the universe has to copy and paste that in their ice cream place. Otherwise, what's the point? What's the point of going into a specific brand and buying something unique and then seeing kind of basically essentially the same thing in other brands? Because sometimes when I look at luxury segments, especially if I'm looking at like new in department in different retailers online, I don't even see the difference between them. There's no style identification. There's no style DNA to some brands, even though there could be, but they just decide to copy and paste something that already exists. And of course it works, of course it sells. But does it work for a brand in a long-term prospect? So the only thing you do within your brand is copy and paste something you see in other brands. You have no identity of your own, and therefore, in a long-term effect, no one would necessarily think about you in a specific, unique way when talking about a specific, favorite brand, because the only thing you do is just copy and paste. This is also something that's been happening for a lot of time within the fashion industry, but I just feel like it's just not talked enough. And it's just crazy. And so regarding the applique flowers, it's beautiful if it's done like uniquely in a specific brand, in their style DNA. And Magda Butrym brand is essentially a brand for applique flowers, if there is one, because it's very 80s, it's very power shoulders, it's very like over the top, kind of like evening style, club-like, but dressing down in a casual way. It's very powerful, it's very beautiful, it's full of colors and textures, etc., etc. So it's completely in their line to create something that has applique flowers. But when you see applique flowers everywhere, you just start forgetting which brand you're looking at. And applique flowers need to be gone at the moment. I don't actually object for them to stay within the brand that created them, or at least revived them. So for example, Magda Butrym, but just not each and every brand within the fashion segment. And the next thing we'll talk about as well is something that also has the same effect at the moment, is multiple asymmetrical cutouts in dresses and tops. So let's start by saying Christopher Asber, Cult Gaia, and Nancy Doyaka were the first ones within the fashion segment that kind of revived this specific trend. Those cutouts, they look beautiful and sexy and unexpected and make even like a very kind of basic summer dress or summer top not so basic after all. But after that, when I say all, I actually do mean all the brands in each and every segment and each and every country and origin took this trend and applied it to their clothing, whether it like works with their style DNA or not. And now I see these cutouts everywhere in all the brands, in all the fashion segments and budgets. It's obviously in the mass market segment because it's so affordable, and that's the first thing they do. They get inspired by the luxury brands, but also in luxury brands as well. So not only Nancy Doyaka, Christopher Asber, and Cult Gaia, who were the first ones to revive this, keep doing this thing over and over again and kind of, redoing the same dress but in a different color, redoing the same top but in a different material. But other brands keep doing this as well. And it's like when I go into Net-a-Porter, out of the 100 items I look through over the course of a day, at least 50 items are going to be, at some point, they're going to have at least one thing with a cutout. That could be a top, that could be a dress, that could be a sweater, that could be a pant, whatever it is, it's going to have multiple cutouts. And just like with the previous trend, which is of applique flower trends, what ends up happening is that all of them look the same to me. And this is the point where the fashion is, going backwards, in my opinion, because as opposed to developing your personal style DNA within your brand and creating something new and obviously getting inspired by the archival materials, etc., because there's nothing necessarily completely new at this point, but you can get inspired and you can copy. And there's two different things. And this is a blatant copy and it's everywhere. And I feel like it's just over the top at the moment and it needs to stop. It's nothing new, it's nothing interesting. You obviously can keep the things that you've bought, but I would not necessarily advise to buy something new. So what I would say is, if this is a part of your style, a part of your personal style DNA, and you love them a lot and you feel like this is something really essential to your style DNA, obviously you can keep wearing this and buying this. But if you're just considering going into a specific trend direction or investing in a specific trends, these trends I would advise against. And the next thing is logo matching. And this is pretty easy and pretty simple. So most of the time when I'm looking, especially like bloggers pages and fashion bloggers pages, what ends up happening and what I see is like total branded and especially like logo looks. So complete logo mania top to bottom and within the same brand. So like total Louis Vuitton look, total Chanel look, Chanel bag and Chanel sandals and Chanel suit. So that would be like a Louis Vuitton backpack, Louis Vuitton shoes, Louis Vuitton skirt, etc., etc. And it's just boring. And if that's a catwalk, so if that's a Louis Vuitton catwalk, if that's a Chanel catwalk, I would definitely understand that. But if you're a person who's willing to develop their style beyond matching outfits from the same brand, I would advise against having the same brand all over your whole wardrobe. I would definitely think of mixing and matching, and there's nothing bad. There's the stigma of mixing and matching different brands, especially the different logos. So something would be Chanel and something would be Louis Vuitton. And I'm really easy about that. I feel like it's actually much better than doing everything from the same brand. Because from a styling point of view, from a point of view of personal style, this looks like a cheap way out of actually going deeper into your personal style, investing your time into thinking what works and what not, and actually mixing and matching and creating something unique within those brands. Because most of the time, what also ends up happening is that the same thing, so basically like a Chanel skirt and a Chanel bag and a Chanel sandal would also have the same style direction. So you not only you're matching the same brand and logos, but also the same style. And it's just like too much of the same thing, if you know what I mean. So I would definitely skip those trends and go into developing your personal style, trying something new, mixing and matching with mass market brands, with some basic items with no logos, and actually mixing and matching different luxury brands within one look to create something more unique for you. The next thing I would definitely ditch at the moment would be bandana tops. It's just, what I see all over the place most of the time is something that Bella Hadid or Gigi Hadid, but most of the time like Kendall Jenner and Bella Hadid ends up wearing. This thing is going to each and every person, especially online in a fashion segment. So influencers, bloggers, personalities, etc., etc. And then mass market, and then everyone ends up wearing the same thing. And to me, like the common thread within all of those things is that instead of actually creating something personal to you and working with a trend and looking at it from a very skeptical perspective and applying it to your style, or deciding not to apply it to your style if it doesn't work for you, what actually ends up happening in the end is that everyone just looks the same. For example, if you travel to Los Angeles, what you see there is like everyone ends up looking like Bella Hadid and Gigi Hadid and Kendall Jenner. So one of them is wearing like baggy workwear pants and bandana top, everyone's wearing it. And these bandana tops have been all over the place for the last 2 years, and it's time for them to go because there's no progression within this trend. It's just like all the same. All of the styling options are completely exhausted at the moment. So I see absolutely no point in working with this trend at the moment, especially if you're trying this. I would skip that. I would just wait a couple of years when it comes back and work with it in a different way, from a different perspective. The next trend we'll talk about is the Y2K fashion look. The whole 2000s total look with futuristic sunglasses and a skimpy dress and the heels and everything and anything that's regarding the Y2K 2000s look. And it's not about the 2000s look per se, but actually about a total 2000s look, because there's nothing creative about just looking at something and then copying and pasting it. And when you go into Instagram, especially if you're into those like reels thing, if you just scroll through Instagram reels, what you see is most of the styling videos and fashion videos are going to be this Y2K inspired fashion. So everything again ends up looking the same, and it's just boring, it's not interesting. Go for the 2000s, girl. Of course, try something new, try something applied to your style, but just don't go overboard. Make it your own. Always look at a trend from this critical, very specific, filtrated perspective of your personal style, of your personal goals, of your body, of your choices, of your lifestyle, everything and anything that goes into creating your style DNA. And just copying and pasting it is the last thing to do. So if you like the 2000s trends, obviously go for it. But then don't wear the whole 2000s Y2K inspired look. Take the low waist workwear pants, but then make a different kind of top choice for those pants, like a very office style, but maybe like a cropped shirt, an oversized blazer, or something skimpy, or something completely oversized like a crazy cashmere sweater. So make it your own. Of course, go for the Y2K, but not like a complete Y2K. That's what I'm talking about. And the last trend I'll talk about is bucket hats. You know, universally, we just need to make this decision to stop with the bucket hats, for God's sake, because they're everywhere. They've been everywhere for the last 3 years. They've exhausted themselves. Even bucket hats are tired of themselves at this point. So there's so many hot options and headwear options within the fashion world. You don't need to necessarily go into the bucket hat department to make your look fashionable, to make your look cute, to make it work. There's caps, there's basketball caps, there's hats, there's balaclavas, for God's sake, but not bucket hats, please, because they're like just too everywhere to keep considering them new and beautiful and interesting. And unless this is a part of your actual style DNA or your style skeleton, so something very basic and essential to your style, there's just so many options you can go for except for the bucket hats. So just, you know, go for them. And obviously, comment down below what the style trends and fashion trends you're completely sick of, with the fashion trends and items and specific things within the fashion world. You feel like it's their time to go now? Comment them down below, let me know, and let's just keep this discussion going. And for now, this is it for the video. I hope you loved it. Let me know which other topics you would like to talk about within this channel, and see you in the next video. Bye!